What is up, everybody? It's JT Sports and Match you guys with another NFL mock draft. This is my NFL mock draft 4.0 post NFL Combine edition with trades. Now, for those of you guys who don't know how I do my mock drafts, I put my general manager hat on for all 32 NFL teams, and I pick the players who I would draft if I was general manager for that team. And also, I look at the trades the same way, depending on how I feel. If I was general manager for such and such teams, if I would trade up and things like that. So before I begin, make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel because I upload NFL videos and college football videos daily. Also, make sure that you guys follow me on my social media pages down in the description and the comment section down below for extra bonus content. So, without further ado, let's get into it. So, with the first overall pick, I have the Cincinnati Bengals taking Joe Burrow. I think that's a pretty much no-brainer. Not really a lot of explaining that needs to be done there. The Andy Dalton era has came to an end. The Cincinnati Bengals need a new quarterback to bring hope to the city and the franchise of Cincinnati, and Joe Burrow is quarterback to do that. I think that he is one of the best quarterback prospects that we've seen in a while. He's dead point accurate, has some mobility as well, and I think he'll be a pretty good fit for Cincinnati. And with the second overall pick, I have the Washington Redskins taking edge rusher Chase Young. Now, it is a little bit of some rumors swirling around that the Washington Redskins are looking at drafting Tua Tagovailoa with the second overall pick. But if I'm the general manager for the Washington Redskins, I drafted Dwayne Haskins last year. He's still young. Had an up and down rookie season, but for the most part, I think he has a pretty good future ahead of him. So it doesn't really make a lot of sense to draft another quarterback. So I'm going to take edge rusher Chase Young. Chase Young is, in my opinion, the second best defensive player in this draft class behind Isaiah Simmons, and he's the best edge rusher in this draft class. And if you're the Washington Redskins, if you shore up that defense, you give him Montez Sweat, Chase Young, and you already got a pretty good defensive line as well. So if they get Chase Young, that front seven of that Washington Redskins defense is probably going to end up being one of the best in the NFL, probably top 10 if they end up drafting Chase Young. And with the third overall pick, I have the Los Angeles Chargers trading up with the Detroit Lions. They exchanged the first round picks that they have. Detroit trades down to the sixth overall pick to acquire more draft picks, and the Chargers give the Lions their second round pick, their 2021 first round pick as well. They trade up and draft Tua Tagovailoa. Now, for those of you guys who are going to be like, why would you have the LA Chargers trading up for Tua Tagovailoa when Justin Herbert could just fall to us at number 6? Well, here's the thing. I think Tua Tagovailoa is better than Justin Herbert, and for Tua, the only thing that people have with Tua Tagovailoa is injury concerns. But listen, if a doctor was to tell me that, hey, your Tua Tagovailoa is going to be good enough and healthy enough to play 6 to 7 seasons, that's all I need to hear, because I would take 6 to 7 years of being a Super Bowl contender with an elite quarterback like a Tua Tagovailoa versus drafting a guy like Justin Herbert, who is pretty solid, but Tua Tagovailoa is the better quarterback and he gives you more upside. And when you look at the LA Chargers are pretty much a really complete team when you think about it. Aside from a few holes that they need to fix on the offensive line, this is a really good Chargers team. Pretty much the offense is pretty good. You got Keenan Allen, one of the best slot receivers in the NFL. You got Mike Williams, who's a good deep ball defender. You're pretty much going to end up keeping Hunter Henry by giving him the franchise tag. So the offense is pretty set. So they got a lot of weapons to work with on the offense side of football. Their defense is one of the better defenses in the NFL when they're fully healthy. So I mean, this is a pretty good destination that if I'm Tua Tagovailoa, I would want to play. And I think if I'm the LA Chargers, I would want Tua on my team because Tua gives you more upside and he's a better quarterback than Justin Herbert. And I don't think you're going to find a lot of good quarterbacks with the accuracy that Tua Tagovailoa has on the deep ball. So I would trade up for Tua Tagovailoa if I was the general manager for the LA Chargers. Have nothing wrong with Justin Herbert. I just think that Tua Tagovailoa is a better player. And if you're the LA Chargers, the quarterback play is the only thing keeping you back for being a Super Bowl contender. So I would go ahead and take Tua Tagovailoa. Now, moving on to the fourth overall pick, I have the New York Giants taking linebacker Isaiah Simmons. Now, look, In my last couple of mock drafts, I had the New York Giants taking offensive tackles. But now that I think about it, I think that the New York Giants, with free agency fastly approaching, I think they're most likely going to end up filling their needs at offensive tackle in free agency, which gives them a reason to go after linebacker Isaiah Simmons. Now, I believe that Isaiah Simmons is the best defensive player in this draft class over Chase Young. And the reason why is because I never seen a guy be able to play slot cornerback, safety, and outside linebacker all at very high levels. He took a pretty big amount of snaps at all of those positions, and for New York Giants, I think they could use a guy with that versatility. And I mean, Isaiah Simmons, this isn't a guy that's 5'10", that's just a one-trick pony, just a great coverage linebacker. This is an all-around great linebacker. He has great size, great speed, great athleticism. I think if you're the New York Giants and Isaiah Simmons is there, and you feel your need for offensive tackle in free agency, I think you have to go ahead and draft Isaiah Simmons. With the 5th overall pick, I have the Miami Dolphins taking quarterback Justin Herbert. Now, if we're being realistic, the Miami Dolphins pretty much could trade with the Detroit Lions for their 3rd overall pick as well, but I had the Chargers most necessarily making that trade because I just don't think the Miami Dolphins would be willing to trade the fan just to get a quarterback if they were a smart franchise when there's other needs that they could fill with those picks. So I have them taking Justin Herbert. And there's nothing wrong with taking Justin Herbert. Justin Herbert is one of 3 quarterbacks in this draft class that could be day one starters and are actually pro ready. Now, the only thing about Justin Herbert is that he has inconsistencies with his accuracy, but I mean, so far, Justin Herbert has been shredding the offseason. He killed the combine. He was Senior Bowl MVP. So if you're the Miami Dolphins, I think you're getting a pretty good steal. And I mean, even good thing is that Justin Herbert, even though he's good enough to start day one for the Miami Dolphins, he doesn't have to because you got Ryan Fitzpatrick. So you don't have to throw Justin Herbert into the fire right away, even though he's more than capable of handling that. Now, with the 6th overall pick, I have the Detroit Lions taking cornerback Jeffrey Okudah. Now, the Detroit Lions got the 6th overall pick because they trade down with the LA Chargers for the 3rd overall pick. The Detroit Lions got a couple of 2nd, 3rd round picks, and they got the LA Chargers 1st round pick for the 2021 NFL draft. So for the Detroit Lions, they could use Isaiah Simmons at linebacker, but since Isaiah Simmons isn't there, I have them taking cornerback Jeffrey Okudah. Now, here's the reason why. We really don't know what's going to happen with Darius Slay. I would like for the Detroit Lions to keep Darius Slay because Jeffrey Okudah and Darius Slay would instantly be one of the best cornerback tandems in the NFL. I'm not saying the best, but one of the best. But if they do end up trading away Darius Slay, then I think Jeffrey Okudah will be able to come in, fill that role of being a shutdown cornerback, and then you have Emmanuel Rouillet play that 2nd cornerback spot on the opposite side of Jeffrey Okudah. And I think the Detroit Lions secondary will be tremendously improved compared to where it would be last season. Now, I hope that they do keep Darius Slay because they keep Darius Slay and you pair him up with Jeffrey Okudah. I think that's going to be a pretty good quarterback tandem for years to come. So, with the 7th overall pick, I have the Carolina Panthers taking defensive lineman Derek Brown. Now, the Carolina Panthers could do a lot of things with the 7th overall pick. They could take a quarterback. They could do a lot of things, but I have them taking interior lineman Derek Brown. Now, Derek Brown is an absolute monster. He's the most dominant defensive tackle I've seen in a very long time since Ndamukong Suh. I mean, go back and watch that bowl game when Auburn was playing against the Minnesota Gophers. The Minnesota Gophers were literally quadruple teaming Derek Brown. This guy is a stud. He's very hard to defend up front, and I think he's going to end up being a really good player up front, and he'll be a great player for the Carolina Panthers to begin the Matt Rule era with. With the 8th overall pick, I still have the Arizona Cardinals taking offensive tackle out of Iowa, Tristan Wirfs. He's one of the most athletic offensive linemen in this draft class, and a lot of people want the Arizona Cardinals to take CeeDee Lamb, but this is one of the best wide receiver classes that we've had in a very long time, so you can still get a first round caliber wide receiver in the later rounds of the draft. I think the most important thing would be protecting their franchise quarterback in Kyler Murray, because listen, a lot of people fail to realize that football is a game that is won and lost inside the trenches. It doesn't matter how good of a wide receiving core you have. You don't have the guys to block for your quarterback up front. A good example would be Cleveland Browns quarterback Baker Mayfield. The Browns got Jarvis Landry and Odell Beckham, and yet they still didn't make it to the playoffs because of how bad they were on the offensive line. So protect your franchise quarterback and Kyler Murray, especially when he has to play against division, against Aaron Donald. Go back and watch those Ram games if you're a Cardinals fan. Aaron Donald was terrorizing the Arizona Cardinals offensive line, and Kyler Murray was running for his life back there. So if you're the Arizona Cardinals, be smart. protect your franchise investment. I know a lot of you guys will probably love to get CeeDee Lamb, but the most realistic pick here would be selecting offensive tackle Tristan Wirfs, protecting your franchise caliber quarterback. Now, the 9th overall pick, I had the Jacksonville Jaguars selecting cornerback C.J. Henderson. Jacksonville Jaguars, the weakness of their defense is the secondary, and they got rid of A.J. Boye as well. So they're pretty much rebuilding and revamping their secondary. And I think C.J. Henderson is the second best cornerback in this draft class, and he's right down the road from Jacksonville. He played college ball at the University of Florida in Gainesville, and Jacksonville does have a tendency to favor people who live close to the proximity to them, so I could see them drafting C.J. Henderson out of the University of Florida as well. And also, Jacksonville has had a tendency to draft a couple of good, they've drafted heavily out of the University of Florida the last couple of years. I believe they got Taven Bryant, they got the offensive tackle last year, I can't think of his name. So the Jacksonville Jaguars have a very good connection with the University of Florida when it comes to drafting players there, so I could see the Jacksonville Jaguars drafting C.J. Henderson. And if I'm the general manager for the Jacksonville Jaguars, I would draft C.J. Henderson as well. With the 10th overall pick, I have the Cleveland Browns drafting offensive tackle Andrew Thomas. Now, look, if I'm the general manager for the Cleveland Browns, the biggest weakness on this offensive line for the Cleveland Browns is the offensive tackle position. That's why a lot of people thought the Cleveland Browns would end up making it into the playoffs, and a big reason why they didn't was because they didn't have a good offensive line. So protect Baker Mayfield, give him some more time to throw by drafting one of the best offensive linemen in this draft class, and Andrew Thomas. He's a good run blocker. He's a good pass blocker as well. I think him going to Cleveland would be a no-brainer. It'll be an absolute good fit. I have CeeDee Lamb going to the New York Jets with the 11th overall pick. The New York Jets desperately need some wide receiver help, especially if they end up losing Robbie Anderson in free agency. So I think the New York Jets should go ahead and fill that need by drafting CeeDee Lamb. He'll be the first receiver taken off the board, and I do believe that CeeDee Lamb is the best wide receiver in this draft class. He's a good deep threat. He's good at catching those 50-50 balls, but he's also able to take a slant pass, a 10-yard slant route, and end up changing it into a 70-yard or 60-yard touchdown. And I have the Oakland Raiders taking another wide receiver, back-to-back wide receivers coming off the board, and wide receiver Jerry Jeudy out of the University of Alabama. Now, Jerry Jeudy is the second-best wide receiver. In my opinion, he is the best route runner in this draft class, and I think John Gruden is looking for more playmakers to give Derek Carr, whoever be the starting quarterback for the Oakland Raiders next season. So you pair him up with Tyrell Williams and Darren Waller and Josh Jacobs, and the Oakland Raiders offense is going to end up looking pretty good. With the 13th overall pick, I have the Indianapolis Colts second defensive lineman Javon Kinlaw. I think that the Indianapolis Colts are pretty much, I don't think they're going to look for a quarterback in the first round unless it's a guy that's good enough to start right away. I don't even think the Indianapolis Colts want a rookie quarterback right now. Maybe they take one in the later rounds of the NFL draft. But if I'm the Indianapolis Colts, I'm looking for players who can help me and win now. And I think Javon Kinlaw is that. And I think Javon Kinlaw is one of the most underrated prospects in this upcoming draft. I mean, this is a guy who is an All-American, and nobody really talks about him a lot, and he doesn't get the hype that guys like Chase Young and Isaiah Simmons get, even though he is one of the best defensive prospects in this draft. I mean, the guy was an All-American at the University of South Carolina, and you wouldn't know that unless you look that up because the South Carolina Gamecocks were so bad. But I think Javon Kinlaw would be a great fit for the Indianapolis Colts because they could use some more pieces up front on that defensive line. With the 14th overall pick, I had the Tampa Bay Buccaneers taking the offensive tackle Jedrick Willis. Now, I don't really know what Tampa is looking to do when it comes to the quarterback position. I still don't think they're going to take a quarterback in the first round of the draft. And if I'm the general manager for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, because this is what this mock draft is based on, what I would do if I was a GM for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I would pick up a quarterback in free agency and then draft some offensive linemen in this upcoming draft, and I would take Jedrick Willis. And Jedrick Willis is the perfect fit for Tampa because Bruce Arians is a guy who loves to throw the football around, and Jedrick Willis is regarded as the best pass blocking offensive lineman in this draft class. So I would go ahead and draft Jedrick Willis with the 14th overall pick if I'm Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I have Henry Ruggs III going to the Denver Broncos with the 15th overall pick. Henry Ruggs is the fastest wide receiver in this draft class, and and the Denver Broncos are looking for a wide receiver who can push the field downfield with Drew Lock and be a good slot receiver or outside receiver to complement Cortland Sutton. And I think Henry Ruggs is good enough that he can end up being a good outside receiver or a good slot receiver. But I most likely would like to see Henry Ruggs III end up being a slot receiver for the Denver Broncos. I think he could end up being one of the best slot receivers in the NFL if he ends up getting taken by the Denver Broncos with the 15th overall pick and pair him up with Drew Lock, a guy who has one of the strongest arms in the NFL and a guy who likes to throw the ball deep, and give him the fastest wide receiver in this year's draft class in Henry Ruggs, and a guy who's very good at catching the deep ball with his ability to create separation with his speed. With the 16th overall pick, I have the Atlanta Falcons taking edge rusher K'Lavon Chasen. They need an edge rusher. That's the biggest need that they need on their defense. And when the Atlanta Falcons have a great pass rush, that's when the Atlanta Falcons defense is at their best. A reason why this Atlanta Falcons defense was so terrible back in 2019 was because they weren't really able to get a lot of pressure on the quarterback. With the 17th overall pick, I have Grant Delpit going to the Dallas Cowboys. The Dallas Cowboys could go cornerback or they could go safety here. But if I'm the Dallas Cowboys, I would go ahead and take the best safety in this draft class and Grant Delpit. With the 18th overall pick, I have the Miami Dolphins taking offensive tackle Josh Jones. Now, the Miami Dolphins need to work on their offensive line, and Josh Jones is another good starting caliber offensive lineman. He's a first round caliber talent, and I think he's also very good when it comes to pass protection as well. And this Miami Dolphins offensive line wasn't really that good last year, so they could use some more additional offensive line help and start out by drafting offensive tackle Josh Jones. With the 19th overall pick, I have the Oakland Raiders taking linebacker Kenneth Murray. Now, the Oakland Raiders need a lot of help on the defensive side of the ball. They already took Jerry Jeudy earlier in my mock draft, so they need to work on the defensive side of the ball, and I think a great way to do that would be drafting the second best linebacker in this draft class at linebacker Kenneth Murray out of Oklahoma. With the 20th overall pick, I had the Jacksonville Jaguars taking safety out of Alabama, Xavier McKinney. He's the second best safety in this draft class, and the Jacksonville Jaguars, they could use some more help in the safety position. I think the safety position might be one of the biggest weaknesses that they have on the defensive side of football other than cornerback. With the 21st overall pick, I have Philadelphia taking wide receiver T. Higgins. The Philadelphia Eagles seems like they're hell-bent on getting Carson Wentz some more playmakers, some more wide receivers to throw the football to. Although they could go defense here, I think they should be able to address their needs in the secondary and free agency. So I think they should end up going with wide receiver T. Higgins. Wide receiver T. Higgins is a great wide receiver. I think he has the potential to be one of the best wide receivers from this draft class because of his size and his speed and his athleticism. So I think T. Higgins has potential to be a great number one wide receiver. With the 22nd overall pick, I had the Buffalo Bills taking wide receiver Justin Jefferson. Now, it's weird because a lot of people didn't consider Justin Jefferson a first-round caliber wide receiver until after the NFL Combine. But, I mean, this guy had a great last four-game stretch that I've seen in all my lifetimes in college football. I mean, in the SEC championship game, he shredded Georgia, he shredded Oklahoma, and he tortured Clemson as well. So, I think Justin Jefferson is a dynamic wide receiver, and the Buffalo Bills need a dynamic playmaker who could end up being a true number one wide receiver for them. So, I think they should end up taking Justin Jefferson. With the 23rd overall pick, I think the New England Patriots should take edge rusher A.J. Epinesa. And the reason why for this is because a lot of people are saying that the New England Patriots need to go wide receiver here, and I would agree with that. But if the New England Patriots are trying to keep Tom Brady, I don't think Tom Brady is eager to work with any more young wide receivers, considering how Jacoby Myers and N'Keal Harry worked out. So if I'm the New England Patriots, I will most likely look to target some veterans and proven wide receivers in free agency if I'm looking to try to sway Brady back, and then I will end up drafting A.J. Epinesa. And A.J. Epinesa fits the mold of what the New England Patriots want out of a player. They want a guy who isn't the flashiest, isn't the most athletic, but he's a guy who's able to come in there, doesn't have a lot of character concerns, and do his job. And that's what A.J. Epinesa is able to do. He was really underrated playing his time for Iowa. So with the 24th overall pick, I have the New Orleans Saints taking wide receiver Laviska Shenault. Now, the New Orleans Saints have been searching for a playmaker to pair with Michael Thomas for a couple of seasons now. They picked up Dez Bryant a season or a couple of seasons ago. He ended up getting injured. They brought in Antonio Brown for a workout, but he didn't end up getting signed. So I think Laviska Shenault would be a very good piece for the New Orleans Saints offense, simply for the fact that this guy is built like a halfback. He's thick, and he's very strong. So I mean, this is basically a halfback playing wide receiver. So trust me, when this guy gets the ball in his hands, he's going to have a lot of yards after the catch. With the 25th overall pick, I have the Minnesota Vikings taking cornerback Trayvon Diggs. And yes, he is the brother of Stephon Diggs. And listen, the Minnesota Vikings should draft Trayvon Diggs for two reasons. And here's why I would draft Trayvon Diggs if I'm the Minnesota Vikings. Because one, they need a cornerback. They're in cap hell right now, so we really don't know what they're going to do when it comes to the cornerback position. I believe that Trey Waynes is a free agent. I'm not sure if they're going to end up bringing him back or not, and they might end up trading Xavier Rhodes as well. That's a rumor circulating around, and Trayvon Diggs fits the mold. He's an athletic cornerback. The reason why he's so late, because every time I watch Trayvon Diggs, the more I start to get more turned off by him as a first round pick. So I think him falling to the Vikings at 25 would be realistic. And if he's available, I'll pick him up. And the last reason if I'm the Minnesota Vikings why I would draft Trayvon Diggs, simply for the fact that Stephon Diggs is unhappy. For some odd reason, despite having a great season, Pro Bowl caliber season, he's still not happy with the Minnesota Vikings. So I think a good way to keep him happy, keep him satisfied, is by drafting his brother. And who wouldn't love to play football on the same team with their brother? With the 26th overall pick, I had the Miami Dolphins taking cornerback Christian Fulton. Now, the Miami Dolphins are searching for another cornerback that they can pair alongside of Xavier Howard. So I think Christian Fulton would be a good cornerback there. He's physical. He's good in man coverage as well. With the 27th overall pick, I think Seattle should take offensive tackle Austin Jackson. Listen, Russell Wilson a couple weeks ago said that Seattle needs to get some more weapons. Well, really, I think what he's saying is that this offensive line needs to improve. So Austin Jackson, this guy is another super athletic offensive lineman. He's good. He's a good all-around offensive tackle as well. I really like him as a run blocker with how good he is when it comes to the athleticism, his ability to I really like his athleticism, and I think Austin Jackson would be a really good fit for Seattle. I think he's a very solid run blocker, and Seattle loves to run the football as well, so I think he'll be a good fit there, and I'll pull the trigger on Austin Jackson if he was available for the Seattle Seahawks at 27. With the 28th overall pick, I have the Baltimore Ravens taking edge rusher Gross Matos out of Penn State University. Now, Gross Matos, this guy isn't going to be one of the most athletic guys, but he's once again another guy who can get the job done. And the Baltimore Ravens need another pass rusher. Yes, they could go wide receiver here, but ultimately, I think they should end up going with edge rusher Gross Matos, because I think defense is a big need. And so far, the Baltimore Ravens have a couple of holes that they need to fill on the defense side of the ball. This is a loaded draft class, so they can still get a great wide receiver in the second and third and fourth rounds of the draft. With the 29th overall pick, I have the Tennessee Titans taking offensive guard Solomon Kindley. Now, one of the needs that the Tennessee Titans had listed was their need for offensive guard. Solomon Kindley is a huge, massive offensive guard, and he's the best run-blocking offensive lineman that we have in this draft class. This guy's an absolute mauler. He's big, he's physical, and I think he'll be a good fit for the Tennessee Titans, a team that loves to run the football with Derrick Henry there at halfback. With the 30th overall pick, I have the Green Bay Packers taking wide receiver Brandon Ayuk. I love saying that name, Ayuk. Now, Brandon Ayuk is a guy that a lot of people didn't really know about until the offseason started, and now he's starting to turn a lot of heads. I mean, this guy is super explosive, and I think he'll be another great playmaker to pair alongside of wide receiver Devontae Adams. And the Green Bay Packers have been searching for a true number 2 wide receiver to pair alongside Devontae Adams for a couple of seasons now, and I think Brandon Ayuk will be able to do that, and I think he could end up having a lot of success with Aaron Rodgers in this Green Bay Packers offense right away. With the 31st overall pick, I have the San Francisco 49ers taking cornerback Jeff Gladney. They could go safety here, but it's really not a lot of it's not a safety at this point in the draft that I would take in the first round at this point. So I would take cornerback Jeff Gladney, let him play slot corner. And with the 32nd overall pick, the last pick of the draft, I have the Kansas City Chiefs taking halfback DeAndre Swift. DeAndre Swift would fit the mold of what Andy Reid wants out of his halfbacks. He's a good one-cut runner, and also he's also very good in the passing game as well, so you can use them in multiple ways. So this is it for my NFL mock draft 4.0 post combine edition. Let me know what you guys think about it down in the comment section down below. Make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel for more NFL videos and content, and thanks for watching.